Shoppe. I am John, this is Jeremy, and today we're going to have some shop talk with our good buddy Alan Bibey. Thank you for being with us. It's Alan Bibey, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, we are very excited to have a good buddy of ours here. We call him a good buddy. He doesn't know that, but we tell everybody this is our good buddy, Alan Bibey, just because we've known him longer than we've actually known him via albums and CDs, yeah, and slowing things down and stealing solos. I think of myself as an equal opportunity thief. Yes,
I would go with thief.
But I've probably stolen more of Alan's licks than most mandolin players out there. So thank you, Alan. I appreciate it. You're welcome. Thank you for providing my material.
No, it is a absolute thrill to have Alan here. He brought his band. We're going to be doing some stuff with that as well later, but we wanted to sit down for a few minutes and talk to him about his history, his life, things that worry you at night. We want to hear all the...
And I would like you to break down a few licks I can't figure out from the slowdown machine for me. So if you guys will bear with us. Alan, how do you do? I think my first solo I stole from you that I felt like I actually advanced a lot as a mandolin player was the Thanks a Lot from Third Time Out. That triplet solo just blew me away, and I spent hours and hours rewinding and fast forwarding and rewinding and incredible stuff. One of my favorite mandolin players. And then recently, what is this, third year? IBMA, second year IBMA mandolin player.
He'll have the third one too, so don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yeah, this isn't going to air till after the awards. Third year that you've won the
Mandolin Player of the Year. No, we're really excited. Alan, we talked before, but for those who've never seen any of the videos that we've done, tell us a little bit about your start in mandolin. I think I remember hearing you didn't actually start on mandolin. Is that correct?
No, I did start on mandolin, yeah.
Oh, well then, I lied and I didn't pay attention to our last
Good segue.
No, so you did start on mandolin. How long ago was that?
I had a brief affair with a ukulele till my mom stepped on it and busted it when I was 4.
Intentionally.
Was that intentional or not?
Yeah, that wasn't really under the clothes. But my dad played mandolin in a band with my mom's brothers. They played all these fiddlers conventions up around home. They had them every weekend. You know, I saw, when I was a kid, I saw Wes Golden and Jimmy Arnold, Tony Rice, Lou Reed, and all those.
So no good influences back then.
No.
None of the good inspire you like we had.
No. So, yeah, I saw all those guys really early.
So was that North Carolina, South Carolina?
North Carolina. Kind of foothills between Winston-Salem and Mount Airy, but way off in the country.
Way off in the country.
Got one stoplight, still got one stoplight.
No need to add another.
No expansion coming to that town anytime soon? All right, well, there you go. Very good. So you said your dad was playing, then what got you fired up besides just watching those folks?
Well, he took me to see Bill Monroe in the next town over when I was 5. And I remember there were so many people there, and he was playing on the back of a flatbed truck. And my dad had to hold me on his shoulders because there were so many people. And I just remember seeing him and going, oh boy, this is incredible, you know, thinking. And on the way home, I said, man, that's what I want to do, you know. And he said, well, we'll play something when we get home. So he took me in the bedroom and showed me a chop chord. He said I started chopping right in time, which kind of sounds impressive, but by that time I'd heard so much music, if I hadn't chopped in time, it probably would have been pretty bad.
So then started getting into it. First band that you started playing with, or group, I guess.
It was a band with my dad. That played those fiddlers conventions, and I don't even remember the name of the first band we played in. But then we played in we had a second band together, and we actually, somebody in Western Canada, when I was playing a show there, brought me a record of that when I was 13.
Really?
To sign it. I was like, where did you get that, and can we destroy it?
That was some of your finest work right
it probably was. It was awesome. I had braces on and couldn't pronounce a word when I was singing. But it was fun, and it was called Southern Tradition, was the name of that band. And we played all those fiddlers conventions and stuff, and that morphed into, we were playing a fiddlers convention in Mount Airy, and I remember Barry Barrier and a couple other guys came up to me, and they had a band together called Interstate Exchange at the time, which morphed into the band Summer Wages.
Summer Wages, I remember that band actually pretty well.
Yeah, no, they were big. I was a like when I was first coming up, Rick Allred was killing the fiddlers conventions. He was like killing it, and he had that something similar to like what Ricky Skaggs going on with that jazzy kind of thing. So I just followed him around everywhere he went. I was there checking it out, He's such a good player. But
that was a great band because Barry was singing in there, and wasn't his brother also in that band?
he
If
was.
I remember right.
Yeah, Kenneth, the dobro
Yeah,
player. Was a really good dobro player.
Great vocalist, and there are a couple of those albums out. So I got to grow up listening to that one too.
Mm-hmm.
It was before I started playing, but I just derailed your story. So let's continue.
Yeah,
Make it all about you, John.
I'll do that a few times. Don't worry.
but actually before that, Sammy Sheeler started playing banjo after I started playing mandolin. He was a few years older than me, so I didn't have a driver's license, so he had to drive all the way down and pick me up to take me where he was already at, pretty much. So we became big buddies really early on and stuff, So and that led into, I guess the next thing I did after that was I was like the biggest Boone Creek fan on the planet, I got a little depressed when they broke up, but
That was a great band. In case you haven't followed that
Yes.
one, Ricky Skaggs, Jerry Douglas, Wes Golding, Steve Bryant, if I remember right, played bass.
he was the one that probably played on more stuff, but they had a few bass players. At one time, Vince Gill was in the band, so they had a lot of different players in there at times.
Find that album if you haven't found, or there's two of them.
There's
I
two
believe.
of them, yeah.
Find those. I grew up on the one-way track album. I thought that was one of the best ever. Definitely.
Yes.
Another good one.
Definitely. So after they broke up, Wes moved kind of back to my area. And I started playing in a band with him and Eric Ellis and Wes's dad. And they sang super together. So that was pretty cool getting to play with one of my heroes because I was such a big Boone Creek fan. And then that kind of morphed in. His dad ended up having some health problems, and Wes's wife started playing bass. And we played a gig up in Roanoke, Virginia. And I remember Jimmy Haley and Terry Balkin came walking in. At the time, I'd already met my buddy Ronnie Bowman. I got him into playing bluegrass, which he's still not sure if he's glad about that or not.
Still thanking you.
Yeah. Sometimes he's happy, sometimes he's not about that. But they came in. I'd done a tape with Ronnie to send to Crow. I was thinking maybe I'd get that job, and I was 17 or something. 18 or 19 around that time. So when they came in, they came over at break and started talking to me and telling me that they were splitting with Doyle and wondered if I'd be interested, which is a gig I never thought would open up, or happen the way it did. So that's how I started playing with Quicksilver when I was like 19.
So I'm going to break up your story just because I want to give you another. I don't know if you know this or not. That was my introduction, and I think Jeremy's as well, to you as a player. And you actually came out. We didn't meet you or anything. I did meet you, but I don't think you remember this. You guys came out and played in Colorado
Yes.
at the Rocky Mountain Bluegrass Festival.
I do remember that.
And yes, and
God,
that
I remember meeting him.
you don't have to tell me that. But that was totally. I was blown away because we had seen Quicksilver, and then you guys came out and you were doing that same sort of vibe of music, obviously because that's the band that had just come out of there. And then there's this new guy that's playing mandolin, and everybody's going, who is this guy? Because we kind of knew most of that band by way of Doyle, and then you were like the new guy, and kind of blew everybody away. The new Quicksilver was a fabulous album, and I know I wore it out, but very, very cool.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I was too young to be nervous back then and stupid. So
I think I remember those days myself. I had a few of those.
I vaguely remember that.
But that was a really, like I said, fabulous album. And that's kind of where I think you kind of exploded onto the scene as one of the hot mandolin players of the time. That went on for what?
Maybe 3 years or so.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah. By the way, if you have not seen that album cover, all white tuxedos, all
awesome.
white background,
Classy.
nothing beats that album cover right there.
The Bluegrass White album.
We need to recreate that again. It's time.
You should. And then, so after that, what ended up happening with you?
After that, a few years later, a couple years later, I guess. And I'd been talking some to Ray and Russell, and they called me and asked me would I be interested in starting a group, and we did. And at first it was just us three with Mark Hartgrove, and we didn't have a banjo player. Our first picture, we didn't have a banjo player. So they asked me, and I'd been playing some gigs around Charlotte with Terry Balcom, and who I played New Quicksilver with too. So I said, well, Terry might be interested in the gig. So he was, and that's how that band kind of formed,
That was the beginning of Third Time Out, right?
which
there.
is pretty cool. We're going to do a Third Time Out reunion at the MAC Festival this year.
Really?
At the end of July.
That would be very, very cool.
So I have to relearn that break.
I'll show it to you.
All right, okay. I may.
Now, and you did 2 or 3 albums?
The first two albums.
Yeah.
About 3 or 4 years, something like that.
And again, just for my own history's sake, I remember seeing you guys with that band right after it started, actually in Canton, Texas.
Yes.
You guys, I want to say that was like one of the very first shows with that band.
It was.
And we were actually there. Again, we were just upstart band that was going to our first festivals. We drove all the way from Colorado. This lineup was just massive.
I think that's
everybody.
where I met Bill Monroe. And
Yep. Everybody who
Hoffmans
was
were there,
anybody.
Jimmy Jesse.
Yep. And then these guys, it was just awesome to see that band change. I can tell you, we have logged more hours on those first 2 albums than probably any other album that we had.
Oh, man.
So
I appreciate
it was awesome.
Yeah, I found a cassette tape of that show the other day.
Really?
We're looking for songs, a set list. Me and Russell were talking back and forth, so I sent him the set list from that show.
That's awesome.
Well, now that you listen to it, you'll know I was there.
Okay.
That'll
That'll make it sound better.
Here's this little squeaky kid in the ground. Ah, yay. That was me. No, that was great. And then, next thing I knew, I saw you next, and you're going to have to tell me if I'm right on the timeline, playing with Lou Reed. Is that about right?
I did. I played one summer and recorded with Lou Reed. Actually, at that time, we were already getting the New Quicksilver band back together, but under the name Blue Ridge. So I recorded that one project with Lou Reed and played that summer with Lou Reed. And then the next year, we came out as Blue Ridge with the New Quicksilver band.
Which had some of the original recording, if I remember that CD, had some of the original recordings from the first one as well as new material.
Yeah, it was all of some kind of record label deal where they called it Balcom, Bibey, Graham, and Haley, like a law firm or something that you would never want to go to.
By the way, that only ties in because that cover photo had you like in a library of like a law firm.
Yeah.
It really looked that way.
I wouldn't go to those guys.
Free taxes or any.
Do you like the assets that you have? Guess what? We can lose them for you.
In a short amount of time.
So yeah, and then that was the next thing that came out. So I remember we'd seen you many times, and I had gone up, and we were the normal, people walk up and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And you don't have to remember, and that's fine. I don't. But the first time I really got to know you, and I absolutely starstruck. Steve Dilling had put together this tour in North Carolina and asked me if I'd come play. And then he told me, he said, by the way, we got this killer lineup, and it was a great lineup. It changed. We had 2 different mandolin players. One of them was this upstart by the name of Adam Steffi. Nobody knows about him. And the other one was Alan Bibey, and that's where I actually got to meet you. I cannot tell you how absolutely starstruck I was, because I'm serious. The New Quicksilver album, for me, was probably one of the first new bands that I had listened to, and I actually got to see live, and it was a big, big deal for me. And then getting to play that show with you, we played, I think, in a high school gym or something of that nature.
Yeah, I remember.
a little gig, and it was amazing to see you. And I was blown away with how nice of a fellow you were, one, and treated me extremely well as everybody else, but still just killing the mandolin. And for me, what started as what I wanted to consider a friendship, he probably doesn't, but
That's what John tells everybody.
that's what I tell everybody.
Well, you didn't know this, but by that time, I was already a big fan of you guys.
I don't believe it, but
that's so true. Very true. I was a big fan of you guys. I still am, of course, but I was. When he said you, I said, yeah, man, I'd love to do that. So
And I think the first time we really got to know how nice of a guy Alan really is when Jamie Boer, me, John, and Jason went golfing with Alan. And people may not know this, but Alan is a excellent killer golfer, and we are not. We are
No, when they
very
talk
bad.
about duffers, we are beyond duffers. It's like the bottom of the, we just,
Alan was generous enough to go with us, and then he'd hit like this incredible shot, and then wait like 40 minutes for the rest of us to find our ball, knock back one side, back to the other, and back over. Patient as all can be, just waiting for us.
never said a mean thing about it, never, ever, which was amazing because I wouldn't have tolerated that. I always tell people when I play golf, I don't measure it in strokes, I measure it in sleeves of balls. That's it. That particular
Bent
shot
golf
took
clubs.
about 2 sleeves of balls.
I lost a club today.
Yeah, around that tree over there.
It was fun. I remember that.
So I'm curious, I've never really got to ask you this, but growing up along that way, what were some of your influences on mandolin? Obviously, you've developed a style that's totally Alan Bibey. You're like the triplet king, and you just come up with different ways of going about finding a melody. But growing up, I can hear some Doyle Lawson influence in there. What would have been some of your influences as you were kind of perfecting your craft?
That's good. That's a really good question. Well, first, Bill Monroe and my dad. My dad, who had great timing, but he played more of an old school style, And I guess my cousin Gary was, and still he's been playing at Myrtle Beach at the Carolina Opry for the last 30-some years or whatever, but he'd play anything. But he was a great mandolin player, and he played on the Boot Hill album that was the first cut of Steel Rails before Allison did it. So he was out playing at the time. Boone Creek he was a young guy, 16 or 18 or something. But he would come back and show me all kinds of stuff, and he really did give me some good tips on slowing it down, because all of us want to play so fast and everything, but I still do. I'm still impatient. But I guess after that, really, I remember hearing Herschel Sizemore, and I really liked his style a lot. And I remember my dad took me to Camp Springs, North Carolina, that festival in, I think, '74. So I was like 9 or something. And Doyle was there, and he played with a country gentleman. He played rawhide, and I thought that was the cleanest, fastest thing I'd heard. It was really killer. And then the next year we went back and to see J.D. Crowe, which I wasn't that excited about it at that time because I was so into mandolin, But little did I know when I got there that he had Ricky Skaggs and Tony Rice playing with him.
Who are they?
So once I heard that, I went from playing, an hour or two a day to playing all the time. Just, when I could see them and then heard the 0044 album. And then, especially even after that, even morphing into, into Boone Creek, that's when I was so obsessed. At school, I couldn't think about anything else. I was sitting there on my desk.
So you had your best grades during that time period.
Yeah, it was really good. But, and then, like we were talking about before, at Grisman, when that first Grisman album came out, I thought, man, I've always, even at a young age, I thought, man, mandolin would sound good on anything if it was played great, Some kind of cooler melodies or stuff, but Grisman came out with all those cool melodies and playing such great tone and everything. I thought, man, that is awesome. So after that, I lost a few fiddlers conventions because I went out and played Grisman tunes. And they're like, they didn't. What is he doing? But I didn't care. So it was really fun.
Well, that blends itself so much and gives you influences that can still make traditional music with its own little edge to it. Because you were talking about listening to David Grisman and stuff. That wasn't the normal of what was playing, but I'm assuming it influenced you as far as what you were playing. Like you just said, you went to the Fiddlers Convention, you weren't playing the normal stuff.
Right.
But how did that end up blending into the style that you were when you were playing more traditional stuff?
I think everything you listen to kind of, if you really listen, and it kind of gets in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. But learning all those tunes and all those melodies, I think, and just listening, thinking more about tone. I remember thinking I didn't really think about tone that much until I heard that album. I thought, man, I don't get that sound when I'm playing those notes, So I really thought about that. But I think, listening to that, and then by hearing Grisman, that turned me on to like Stefan Grappelli and Django Reinhardt. So again, maybe going back to listening to that kind of stuff, and Jethro Burns and all that kind of stuff via kind of all of that. So I think all of that, learning all of that kind of blends into your playing somehow or another, and then playing all those, what they say, you have to play 20,000 hours or do anything 10,000 hours to be
something.
good at it or something. But after playing a gazillion hours, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was say I put in way more than 20,000 hours. I'm not no good at it now.
It's a ballpark.
But I think that's one of the, as a teacher, me and Jeremy do lessons. I know you do a lot of instruction as well. I think that is one of the things that I try to really get across to students is, it may not be music that you necessarily want to be able to play. It may not be the direction that you want to play, but it's amazing how many things you pick up and bring into the music that turns into the music you want to play.
Definitely.
It's kind of like just expanding your vocabulary. The more broad it is, the more
On
you
your
learn
instrument.
different styles. Then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, even when you're doing a traditional Monroe thing, this little idea will pop into your head, and you kind of
Right.
go off a little bit from what you planned on doing just because you had that background and that influence has shown up in your playing.
I don't know if this is, and I'd love to hear your take on this. I always told people, and this is what I did for myself. If it was a song even I never intended to ever play again, I thought it was always worth learning it. Because if I learned it, then I could take a little snippet of this and a little snippet of that, and it turned into part of my vocabulary, like you said. What was your process for that? Were you just soaking up everything that you could find, or was there a full intent in everything?
Were you
that
learning
doing?
things note for note? And
Oh
trying to
yeah, oh
reproduce-
yeah. By that, my cousin Gary, I told you about. I think maybe we're both a little bit OCD, but we were all. He was, and then we both got into. We would get our favorite breaks, and at that time there was no learning tools like Amazing Slowdown or anything like that going on. So we had to put our record player down to 16 and tape the break, and then we tape again, and maybe 2 or 3 times that break just so you wouldn't have to keep rewinding it. I only took a cassette, and I've got boxes of those cassettes, like from everything from Doyle Lawson to Skaggs to. So it was all just ear training. It was so funny. Like I'd play something, and I'd think, okay, I got that, Then I'd come back 6 months and listen to it, and I was like, man, I wasn't even close. What was I thinking?
We had Aubrey Haney play on one of our projects, and he had just come out with his release right before there, and I'd learned one of his solos, I thought, note for note, and I'm in the studio talking to him, playing it. It's like, wow, how are you doing that? And I said, I'm doing that here. He goes, oh, I played that all up here. I thought I had it, but it was not right.
Right.
Yeah, but all that, I just think I know tab is great. I never saw any tab until I was, quite a bit older, but I don't think there was any substitute for that ear learning.
I was at same sort of idea as you. I remember my dad actually. We had one of them big giant entertainment centers, back in the day, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
had the turntable. And I was the first one of us that had started learning to play. So I don't know, I was probably 4 or 5 years before you started playing, I would say. I'm guessing. And I remember my dad actually lowered the turntable because it was always records back then, and he lowered it to a place where I could get it. Now he was really fussy about his records, which. Too bad for him because I know I destroyed a lot of his vinyl. But I remember having to do the pickup and try to find the spot again and drop it every once in a while and
Oh, yeah.
do this, and we'd go back and forth and over. And yes, it wasn't always accurate, but it was really good for you because it forced you to try to recognize the relativity to the notes that and sometimes you do the old wild guess. And I'd love to hear your take on this. I've told a lot of students that they ask about improv or how to figure out solos like that. And for me, it was, play this over and over, and then, nope, that wasn't it. Was it higher or lower from the one I just tried, and try something that would be the next one?
Right.
Is that kind of the process you feel like you took?
Oh,
or-
yeah, definitely. And you may stumble onto something that may not be quite that, but it may be very cool too and workable,
That's true.
Like, I forget what age I was when the first Christmas album came out, but I remember at that time, when I played in B or anything, I just thought everything had to be a closed position on the mandolin. I never thought, but when I heard that EMD and he did that, that run, he did that, I went, oh, now I can play this in E. I mean, so I can play this in B down here. So I mean, that opened a whole new world to me. I can play 1,000 different variations on that in that key then, so it opened a whole new deal for me, just that one lick in that tune.
One thing we haven't talked about yet is your collection of mandolin. I find this to be interesting. People who talk on the shop quite a bit. Want to know about the collections, the instruments that you've had in the past, as well as
What you
know
currently have.
what brought you to the selection of.
Who are you
of instruments.
wearing?
Yeah, who are you wearing?
That's a good question.
In a mandolin.
Gosh, that is a really good question.
What was your first mandolin?
My first mandolin was a A40 Gibson. It was my dad's, and it was so tricked out. It was so cool. He took that mandolin, which had to be a fairly cheap mandolin back then, but he put block inlay in it and a flower pot and the Gibson in the headstock, which now would probably cost you more than the mandolin. But so that was my mandolin for a while, and then my cousin Gary, that I've been telling you about, he sold it to Gary, and that was Gary's mandolin when he first started playing with Boot Hill, and I got just some kind of F style. So I remember some buddy of his built a neck for it. It was kind of crude, and then finally, I guess '79, Wayne Henderson built me a mandolin, and that's the one I had until when I started playing with the new Quicksilver. And when I got with that band, Randy was friends with R.C. Snoddy out in California, and he had a mandolin, old Fern there. So it was a 25 Fern, and he said he'll just send it to you. I remember he wanted $6,000 for it. I thought, man, nobody is ever going to pay that much for an instrument ever again, But he sent it to me. I remember taking it into the bathroom at Mom and Dad's because you got to play in the bathroom. You got that reverb.
And why?
And everybody can hear you in the house too, so it's really a treat for everybody. And
That's what In the Blue Room came
right.
from, right?
Right, because I got hit upside the head. Maybe black and blue. No, she was cool everything until I took the fiddle in there.
Not so cool.
And honey, I love you, but you got to go in the woods. Anyway, what else I was talking about? Anyway, he sent me that mandolin, and when they were playing it, I was like, man, I got to have this mandolin. It was just incredible. So I took out a loan and bought that mandolin, and I had it the rest of the time, the new Quicksilver, and recorded that project with it. And then when that band kind of split up a few years later, I thought, at 22, I thought, I'm probably not ever going to play bluegrass for a living again, so I'm just going to sell this thing. Yeah, boy, that was a smart move.
Did you get your 6,000 out of it?
Actually, I got 9 out of
All
it.
right, see?
For you.
Like 2 years later, so that should have told me something right there. But, so then I got I think the next mandolin was a Hutto. I had it for a little while when I first started playing with Third Time Out, and then for the rest of the time with them I played a Randy Wood mandolin. And the whole time after having that old mandolin, I still had that sound in my head. I really wanted an old mandolin again, So we went up and recorded one of the first Blue Ridge projects, and Herschel Sizemore brought up one of his 5 lures, I think, at the time, and let me play one of them, And I thought, man, I got to check around. So I ended up hitting up a buddy of mine that he had took lessons from me years earlier, and he had a July 9 23 lure. And so I called him, and we ended up trading a lot of stuff, and I got that lure then. It's been 27 years ago, I guess.
I remember when you got that mandolin.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing it. Then you also had a Gibson that was built for you, right?
Yeah,
A signature model.
Yeah, that was a little bit after, because when the lure thing happened, every other instrument in my house was gone. I had to sell every other instrument.
You mean it was more than
For a while.
$9,000 to buy the next one?
For a while, I had one instrument for quite a while there. That was my collection.
But it's still one of the best out there.
Yeah, but it grew. The collection finally grew. So yeah, in 2004, they did. Danny approached me about doing that signature model, so we did that. So I have 3 of those, I think, at home. And then a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, just sent me this red diamond out of the blue a couple of years ago, and it's made after my July 9 23. So he said if I liked it, I could keep it. So I've kept it and played it some on the road too. But now I've amassed quite a collection. I also have when I first moved to the beach there, I ordered a Glazer Mandocaster, the 5-string thing, like what Skaggs have with the string bender. And I just recently bought another one from Pam Perry, I think it is. Yeah, that. So I've got a couple of those too. So
That's coming to a stage near you very shortly.
Yeah.
A little,
what else everybody wants to hear?
a nice bluegrass festival add-on. The Telecaster, Mandocaster with the bender in it.
Yeah, but man, that's fun to play.
Oh, I'll bet.
You get loud as anybody.
Like that in the bathroom.
That's right.
But there is something, and I actually have had a lot of people ask, these vintage instruments, there's something to them. Even though I think, I've said this for a long time, I think we're building better instruments than have probably ever been built in the history of, instrument building. But there's just something to those old, they've had too much time. They've had too many things that have changed them and made the wood different than what it can be out of a new one. It's not that the build quality is any worse or any better.
Right.
It's actually probably better now than what
Right.
it was. But, it's a 1923 mandolin. There's going to be some major things that no brand new mandolin is going to be able to do.
Yeah,
So,
it's just they're incredible. I think there's lures are pretty famous for falling asleep. Like if I don't play mine very often, it kind of quietens down pretty good. But if you take it out and play it 3 or 4 days that weekend, by the last couple of shows, it's just like vibrating your chest. It's going berserk.
Yeah.
Where this mandolin, I can set it down for a couple of weeks and play it, and it still sounds the same. It's just, I don't know what the difference is in that, but I think every lure that I've played, they have some kind of commonalities in a mid-range kind of thing somewhere. They're not all, they're all different, of course, but they do have some kind of common deal going on.
So one more thing I want to talk about before we go. Let's do a gear overview of what Alan is playing now. You say you really have 2 mandolins that you're playing most of the time right now. Is that about right?
Yeah, I still play the signature model some too.
Okay.
I have a varnished signature model. I play a pretty good bit. Played this one pretty good bit. And my lure, obviously, if I'm not flying or traveling too far, I'll play my lure, and I usually record with the lure. So.
Gotcha. Strings of choice these days.
I'm a big D'Addario fan. I've been with them for like 30 years now. So
Which set?
I like the new XTs.
The new XTs.
Yeah, I'm really
big fan
liking
of those
those.
too. I
Yeah.
think those are great.
I'm digging those.
Have you tried the new XSs yet?
No.
That's their new
coated
That's
string.
it. Oh, okay.
Feels even more slick than the XT. Next time you see Alan, he will probably be playing the XS. No, he probably, I don't know.
I may be.
You may
You can try them.
Yeah.
I might even have a set for you here. So it's the XT. Are you doing string gauges?
Yeah, I just do the like the J74 kind of gauges,
Gotcha.
So it's kind of medium, I guess.
Gotcha. And that would match the EJ74. As far as your pick of choice, what are you using now?
Well, I have this my buddy Nick, the Apollo Picks is making a new. He's making a lot of different signature picks. I think he's making one for like Mike Marshall and Norman Blake, but he's making one for me too, to my specs, kind of.
Very nice.
So those will be available soon?
Yes, the
All
Apollo
right.
Picks.
Make sure if we get a chance, we will find that one as well. Hopefully get that into the links and hopefully even get it into the Acoustic Shoppe to purchase. I also see you're using a tone guard. Is that correct?
This is a custom one here, right?
Ooh.
This is my buddy Tony sent me a couple of these years ago. Well, I guess when we first started making them.
He didn't have room for the CD.
No, that's right. That's how far as you can get. I see that. I thought, man, I really like that. That sounds pretty cool. So, yeah.
But you use a tone guard
I do.
always on pretty much every instrument?
Yeah.
I have one of the early ones that was back when he was welding all the.
Oh yeah.
Edges.
You can still. It looks cool.
Yeah. We've had people ask all the time. I think that's one of the biggest upgrades you can do for pretty expensive to a mandolin. It doubles the volume and feel, and on a sweaty day on stage, it keeps from sticking to you.
Yeah, I've gone on stage many times, and the back of my lower was white from sweat. I'm
That's not good.
That's not good.
You don't want that.
That's not helping
Not
anybody.
a good thing. Real quick, just and you can tell us if you have a favorite studio mic as well as a favorite stage mic. Do you have one?
Stage, maybe not as much, but my studio mic is the Norman 84.
KM84?
Yeah, I've got a couple of those that I love, that I always record with.
Have you ever used anything as far as pickups or anything like that on stage?
I have, not so much with this band, but a lot of gigs I'll play at the beach.
Favorite?
I like the K&K, and been using the tone bones, and yeah, that's probably my favorites.
Favorite rig?
What about putter?
My putter's been doing pretty good. I hit about 30-foot birdie the other day, so it's been pretty good at times. But
I hit a bird with my putter too. Poor thing.
I was about to make the same joke. I don't know how that was about to happen. That was really bad. Anyway, Alan, absolutely a thrill. I hope you guys out there have enjoyed this. It really is. This is the best part about our job here at the Acoustic Shoppe, is to be able to do these interviews and hang out. If you guys have any questions you'd like, we will try to pass this on to Alan, or maybe he can come by the channel and answer some of those too. So if you get a chance, put some comments down below, and we'd love to hear from you about those. And again, thanks again, Alan. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you. And yeah, you folks come see these guys. They're not only some of the best musicians in the world, but they're just super guys to hang out with. So come check them out.
That only cost me $50 right there.
Totally worth it.
We will catch you guys next time.
Hey, thanks for watching that video that we just did. I'm going to make this universal, so we're going to use it on all the videos.
Good
I hope
plan.
you enjoyed that thing that I said. And if you'd like to see more things like that, just subscribe down below where it says subscribe. You'll be notified anytime we do another video.
And while you're at it, make sure to check out our website, theacousticshoppe.com. We have free shipping on most products and one of the best return policies in the country.
We know what it's like to buy an instrument online. You never know what you're going to get. When you get it, if you're not happy with it, send it back to us. We're not going to be mad at you.
No.
We'll be a little disappointed in you, but no. We want you to find the right instrument, and there's no way to know until you try it. So we encourage you to try it out, play it, and then if it's not the right fit, we'll find the one that is.
There we go.
Also, be sure to comment down below. We'd love to interact with you guys. It's not a one-way street here.
Nope.
You get to say things, we get to say things back to you. If we say mean things, we're going to say mean things back.
We may or may not do that. Anyway, we thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.